Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me as we continue our recruiter series. Today, we are going to talk about two scenarios. The first is where we've had a successful interview and we are at the offer stage with the candidate and we need to lock down and confirm. The second is where we had a not so successful interview and we have a decline from the customer and how we navigate our way successfully through that scenario. So first, I want you to understand that these tasks are of equal importance and should require the same level of energy, positivity, and engagement for both of these scenarios. It's important to you and it's important to the candidate. But first things first, when we reach the offer stage with a candidate and we've had a successful interview, this is great news to be able to share with a candidate. But here's what's really important is the average candidate stays on the market for approximately 10 days. And in even more competitive top level candidates, it can be less than that. So timeliness, I'm giving you 5 tips for confirmations. Timeliness is probably number one in my book, that sense of urgency of confirming all of the information. You know, at this point, you've had in a pre-screen, an interview, you've had the client interview, you've had prep and debrief, you've had a number of engagements. So you should feel pretty comfortable that the information that you've been reviewing thus far remains the same. There might be subtle nuances, you know, once you get to the confirmation and start date stage. But timeliness and sense of urgency are number one in my book when it comes to lockdowns and confirmations. The second is clarity and confirming that everything that you've talked about up until this point is still agreed upon. There are no points of frustration or challenge or no surprises. That's what we're working towards. The third is always be closing. And what I mean by that is the lockdown should happen at every engagement. The one question you need to be asking your candidate at every stage is, if I were to make an offer for this role to you today, would you accept it? That needs to be the number one question that you ask, you know, upon initially making the match and having that conversation at prep and debrief. And then at the offer stage, we're asking what their level of commitment and level of interest is. The fourth is make sure to be excited for them. This is big news. But finally, and most importantly, is the candidate needs to understand that this isn't where your partnership ends, that you're going to remain in contact with them through the duration of their assignment. You're going to make sure that they've arrived safely on the first day. You're going to check in with them at the first week and ensure that everything that we discussed is what it is. And then on an ongoing basis, you're going to check in with them and make sure that they're satisfied with the opportunity. So it's super wildly important that the candidate knows that this is not where you stop and they continue to go on. And I think that's why our redeployment numbers are so dismal often times in our industry, is because we just kind of send the candidate off and there's no kind of re-engagement. So this is where that begins, is at the lockdown, confirmation, and offer stage. Okay, so declining a candidate. I want you to change your mindset with declining a candidate. This isn't something that needs to be painful or uncomfortable or awkward. I want you to put the same energy and positivity into helping a candidate learn from a situation as you do in a winning situation. So my first tip for declining a candidate in an appropriate way is do it in person. Do it over the phone. Do it via a video interview. Do it face to face. This is not something that I ever want to see via text message or email or in some automated something or other that goes out. It's just absolutely demoralizing for a candidate to get some robot response back in regards to an interview. So if you want to be the recruiter that has a loyal following and engaged candidates and really satisfied customers, you need to be delivering these types of messages face to face. The second is be clear. Don't get muddy about what the feedback is. Be very clear with what critical feedback might be there without being opinionated. You want to be objective. You want to give clear feedback, things that they can change and you can work with them on. But also, the third point is be concise. We don't want to belabor whatever point it is that we're making. Clear, concise, critical feedback that they can change, maybe even adapt to, and you can work with them on. The fourth is ask for feedback from them. I know this might come as a surprise to you. Tell me what you're feeling. Give me some feedback. And perhaps you can learn something that they may not have shared in the debrief about whatever happened in the interview. So always being in the mindset that you can learn from the candidate as well is a really healthy way to continue to nurture your relationship with the candidate. And then finally, the fifth point for declining a candidate is we language. Let's get back on that horse. We are in this together. We're going to put another opportunity in front of you. We're going to make changes to your resume. We're going to role play and help you answer that question in a better way, a more succinct way, whatever the feedback might have been. Language is profoundly important with your candidates. And the we instead of me language will help them feel less alone in a scenario where we are having to decline them for an opportunity. So those are our tips today. I'm going to have those tips and guides just like we did yesterday, free for download. You can join me back here tomorrow for Friday Feelings, and you guys make it a great day.